if you're a Christian or if you're a Jew, then you're a target. Now, granted, these uncivilized savages of ISIS have killed a lot of Muslims as well, but they're killing them in the name of radical Islam. They're motivated because they believe that under their version of the Quran, they're supposed to kill anybody that doesn't convert to their brand of Islam.
Mike Huckabee there on Fox discussing persecution from ISIS in the Middle East with Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth. Miranda, Christians and Jews in the Middle East and other minority religious groups faced with a very tough decision: convert, say they're Muslims, or face death.
And a lot of them are fleeing. And according to reports from ISIS, they recently abducted at least 150 Christians from villages in northern Syria.
So with more on this story, what exactly is going on and what might be done, we welcome in our friend Ray Flynn, the former mayor of Boston and former United States ambassador to the Holy See. Ray joins us quite fittingly from Boston. You just heard from Mike Huckabee. Ray, do you agree with what he had to say?
Yeah, I sure do. I think the American public now is starting to understand the extent of the crisis in the Middle East and North Africa. JD, there's another issue that I'd like to raise with you. What do the American government, I think the people understand the issue, but what do the American government, what do they really know about what is going on? Not from a standpoint of knowledge, but how do they understand how to deal with this situation? In other words, our diplomatic corps and the people who make these decisions at the White House, are they reflective of the values of the American people and understanding the importance of religious freedom across the world? Are they prepared to do what is ever necessary to take those steps to represent those values of the American people in carrying out policies that are going to bring about some resolution to this crisis? Or is it a political issue? Is what is best for a political party or best for a politician that they're guided by in making these decisions? I want to know who is in charge. I know the names, but what do they believe? Do they believe that like the American people do, that religious freedom, religious values, the ability to go to church, whatever church that is, or not go to church, is paramount, is central to our values as Americans, and we're willing to do whatever necessary, whatever it takes to carry out that policy in the international stage if necessary.
What do you think is going to happen to those abducted Christians? We have no idea if they're going to survive. Some of them have been trying to seek refuge.
Well, yeah, I've traveled that area of the world. I was served as a diplomat for almost 5 years at the Vatican, the world's most important listening post. So I heard all these stories, and I know the issue of persecution of Christians, just like we knew about the persecution of Jews during World War II. And I would call this comparable to what has happened in Nazi Germany in World War II. I think what is going to happen is they will continue doing what they're going to do. They'll even intimidate and threaten going into the Vatican itself because they're in favor of one world religion, and it's their extremist Islamic fundamental faith. Unless public opinion molds in America and somewhat in the international community as well, that forces politicians to respond to this crisis, not just everybody waiting to look at the 6 o'clock news and find out what they're going to say at the next press conference about what they're going to do. The American people have to get off the sidelines, get out of the stands, go into the public arena where John Paul II used to talk about all the time, and I heard him countless times, and getting involved, making sure that the American voice, American values of freedom of religion for all people is respected not only here in the United States, but across the world. I think the time of all these speeches and comments and press releases and press conferences should be over. I think it is time for decisive, assertive action, and it starts with the White House, obviously, but it also requires the support and the voice, the strong moral voice of the American people, and let that voice be heard to the press, to the international community, to the White House. That's where we go.
And Ray Flynn, even as you lament the political aspect of this, we're going to step away for a break, but when we come back, I'd like to get your thoughts, since as the mayor of Boston, then later the ambassador to the Holy See, you are a can-do type of guy. You talked about getting Americans involved, but we're going to ask you directly, if you had to prioritize, how would you handle this if, let's say, instead of being Mayor or Ambassador Ray Flynn, we had a President Ray Flynn? We'll give the good ambassador and the former mayor time to contemplate that. Some of you might be contemplating that alternative reality in a favorable way. At any rate, America's Forum will continue. Back now on America's Forum, and let's continue our conversation with the former mayor of Boston and the former United States ambassador to the Holy See, Ray Flynn, who joins us, of course, from Boston. Now, Ray, I set up the dynamic before the break. Some people might say, wow, the former mayor's being politically provocative, but you're just laying out your genuine concerns and mindful of that. If you were in charge, how would you prioritize making this a priority of the American people, this whole notion of Christian persecution in the Middle East and the march of ISIS?
JD, it's kind of an interesting question. Yesterday I went down to Burger King to get some hamburger, french fries, and a Coke for my nephew John, who's in a residential home across the street from Burger King. On my way home, I stopped at a gas station on Broadway in South Boston. I spoke to Al and I spoke to Tony, and I said to them, what's going on? One is from Egypt and the other fellow's from Lebanon. I said, what is going on? What can we do? What is the best thing that could happen? And Al and Tony, and you can verify this, they said to me, look, we need somebody who knows how to make things happen. We know somebody who can work with a very diverse population, people who understand and respect the diversity of people's culture, people's religion. Ray, when you were mayor of Boston, you were able to bring people of all different backgrounds together. You never had any problems. There was never any fights. There was never any discrepancies. There was no conflict. That's what our foreign policy needs. We need people who can get things done, who know how to move people, who can go in and talk to extremists on both sides or all sides, and we can look for some common ground. You know, people say, look, you know, we can't do anything about it, let's give up. Or we'll go in there with ground troops and let's wipe them off the face of the earth, or we'll come in with drones. You know, all those things are discussed. But in the final analysis, the answer is always better human understanding and relations. As extremist as these people have, there's got to be a common ground. There's got to be a way of bringing these people together, particularly through religious leaders, whether they be Coptic Christians, whether they be Muslims, whether they be Catholic priests or evangelicals, whatever it is, there has to be some common ground. And I don't know if our American foreign policy is equipped, understands the important role that religion and faith in moral understanding can have in solving a lot of what seems to be insurmountable problems in the world today. Wars won't end it. I think human understanding is the best choice we have at this particular time.
Well, Ray, the triumphs you may have had in terms of public policy in bringing diverse groups together in Boston, in a society that kind of champions that diversity and has a live and let live attitude, that's certainly important. But I just want to make sure I understand you in the couple of minutes we have left. Even in the wake of an extremist brand of Islam that is preaching convert or die, you're telling me there's got to be a way to talk to these people?
I would go over there and I would talk to them. I'd be direct with them and I'd say, look, you have a couple of choices. You can keep on doing what you're going to do, or you're going to adhere to a more civil kind of policy. If you don't, there's consequences. The United States, the international community, is going to do everything they possibly can to make sure that you no longer are able to function and operate as any kind of entity in this part of the world. And that will require any and all options, including military options. You have a choice right now to make. It's either go along and let's understand what you're looking for, or you don't go along and you're going to pay deep, deep consequences. That's the United States. That's the international community that is giving you this ultimatum. And you know what? They may decide to send me and put me in jail. They may decide to send me home with no results. But they are now going to pay the consequences. The international community, the American people will understand that the decision and the consequences are in their hands, not in the White House or not at the State Department.
And of course, we see horrific atrocities. The murder of, 21 Coptic Christians from Egypt on the coast of Libya there. The challenge, to put it euphemistically, Ray, really the threat, to put it more accurately, is these people are not going to listen to anybody, that they have accepted their own ultimatum and they continue to kill. So faced with that reality, ultimately military force has to be used, does it not? We've got about 30 seconds left.
Yes, that's the last option, of course. And what I'm saying, though, J.D., is I don't know who the people are that are negotiating or talking to these people. I had some pretty honorary characters that I had to deal with as well. And you know what? I was able to bring them together because everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's got their own issues. Let's find out what those issues are. And if they say no to them, they pay the consequences. That's their call. That's their decision.
Ray Flynn, as always, we appreciate your perspective and your candid talk about what we're confronting, not only as Americans, but what people of faith are confronting around the world. Thanks so much. When we come back,
Sure.
A Coptic Christian priest with a bounty on his head, courtesy of Al-Qaeda. Stay with us.